Competency in Communication focuses on building an integrated strategy that drives the goals of our professions. The predominant themes within the communication competency include developing a two-way strategic communications plan, utilizing current media and technologies to communicate, developing a style and approach geared toward the specific audience, acting as an effective speaker and compelling advocate for the organization, and identifying appropriate messengers. The behaviors that correspond to each of the themes within the communication competency are represented here. Please be sure to refer to the NEA Leadership Competencies Guidebook and review the full set of competencies. Al Lorenz is the Secretary-Treasurer of the Illinois Education Association. In this clip, he discusses the passion, advocacy, and leadership behind effective communication.
Well, one of the things that we do when we go and talk to members is to tell them the IEA is not just a bunch of folks sitting in Springfield. It's all of us. So we have to advocate. I advocate for you when you're not there, and you have to advocate for the kids and the other members. Someone's got to step up and speak out about what's right for kids in public education, and it's us, and it's all of us. And so that advocacy has to drive you, because as far as I'm concerned, if you're a teacher or you're an ESP, you're in the classroom or in the school building, this is a calling. You know, we don't go into this to get rich. We would like to be compensated justly and fairly, but people do this and they go out of their way to give kids lunch money, to help them buy shoes when they run track, you know, to give them money to go out for graduation luncheon when their parents can't afford it. They do all that stuff because they want to, not because they have to. So it's that same passion. I'm a firm believer that when you find the thing that you're passionate about, you won't be shy. You'll step up and you'll speak out. And so that's what drives me, and that's how I try to convey my message when I go out and talk to members.
Sharon Gallagher-Fishbaugh is a former Utah Teacher of the Year, recipient of the NEA Award for Teaching Excellence, and current UEA president. Sharon is an effective speaker with small groups and large audiences. However, here she shares the communication practices and style that allow her to connect with audiences and cultivate constructive relationships, even in difficult circumstances. She begins the story by asking to speak to members of the Chamber of Commerce who did not want the affiliate to be part of Utah's Prosperity 2020 initiative.
And I said, Natalie, give me the names of some of the folks, the key players in the chamber, and let me go to breakfast or whatever, just to get to know them. And she gave me the name of an individual who was very, very anti-union, very teachers association's horrible. We went to breakfast and he talked. I still remember him telling me the story about his twins and their teachers, and we chatted and we had a great conversation. We met again. And then I met with the chair of Prosperity 2020. And one of the greatest stories that happened over the course of meeting with these folks for, months and months and months and really getting to know them was I'd heard that the gentleman that I'd met with first went to his board at Prosperity 2020 and said, she's the kind of teacher you'd want your kids to have. And I thought, that's it, sharing that heart of a teacher. You can be an association and a union leader, but we're teachers first, or we're ESPs first, or we're about kids first. And when that comes through, the other stuff comes because they see you as being about children. So we went to up for our Summer Leadership Academy my first year, again up in the mountains. And the chamber happened to be having their chamber retreat up there at the same time. So I saw these two gentlemen. And I said to the one, we'd love to have you come in to our, it wasn't on the agenda, come in and talk about what the chamber's doing with Prosperity 2020. So totally off the cuff. He comes in and he spends 5-10 minutes talking about what they're doing. And then he said, we want you to come in and talk at our chamber board meeting. So I walk in, half of the guys were parents, kids that I'd had, which was really a treat, okay? So there it is, relationships. Talked to them a little bit about what we were doing. We had lunch out on the patio. They all came down to the patio. The chair of the chamber talked about how much he valued teachers. They gave us a standing ovation. After not even having, we weren't even going to talk to one another. And that began a very, very wonderful, wonderful relationship.
Becky Snyder is the president of the Mooresville Teachers Association in North Carolina. She's known for her effective use of digital and social media. Here, she emphasizes the value of being versatile in the use of communication media.
North Carolina election time was pretty hot and heavy, and people were very interested in, what can I do? How can I reach out to the people that need to hear what I want to say? So it was very easy with social media to throw, these are your elected officials in your particular area. These are their numbers. These are their names. And even for myself, I learned a lot about, which district I was in and who my House representatives and my Senate representatives were, and just being able to know who represented me. But I put information out to all on Facebook, and I got tons of texts and emails and phone calls about, I just left a message with so-and-so's office, and I just called so-and-so's office. And through all this, I learned that email's not always the best. It's the quickest, and sometimes it's the safest, because you don't really have to have that conversation with people. But picking up the phone and calling someone and saying, this is how I feel, this is who I am, this is where I live. I am someone who can and will vote or not vote for you. I think it's very powerful.
Kim Anderson is Senior Director for Advocacy and Outreach at NEA headquarters. She closes the communication segment by emphasizing the link between advocacy and communication, and uses an example that demonstrates the importance of identifying appropriate messengers. In previous examples, we saw affiliate leaders demonstrate advanced communication skill. This story exemplifies that the best messenger is not always an elected or seasoned leader. It also exemplifies that authenticity and practitioner voice is a critical component to communicating effectively as an education leader.
We try to encourage our members through our site, educationvotes.org. We try to encourage our members to arrange back-home visits and go to senators and House members' district offices to go pay a visit and go tell them about what our priorities were for reauthorizing the law and what we thought would be most effective to change the law so it would work better for students. And so a young lady in Kentucky who had never lobbied before saw this on our website. She also knew one of our Kentucky board members, went to Senator Rand Paul's office to pay him a visit at our request, a back-home visit to a district office, sat in his office, told him what teaching was like for her under this law, told him about the obsession with standardized testing, told him the difficulty of holding schools accountable based on a snapshot, and told him about technology and a lot of other problems. And from that experience, Senator Paul actually invited her to Washington, D.C. to testify in front of the Senate Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee. She had never, ever stepped foot in a congressional office before, and her back-home visit, the first one she'd ever done, led to a trip to D.C. at the invitation of a United States Senator, and she testified before the whole Senate. I think she was just amazed. I think so often Americans believe that one voice can't make a difference, that the lawmaking process is so big and unwieldy and intimidating and hard to navigate and slow and complicated that people get really frustrated and think that the investment of my time, 20 minutes or 5 minutes sending an email won't make a difference. And for her, she really got living proof that it really does make a difference. It really can make a difference.
These videos reflect a variety of themes and associated behaviors at several different levels. It also shows the important interplay between competencies. In this case, there is a strong tie between relationships that we saw in the governance and leadership competencies, as well as the advocacy competency. Now that you've learned about the communication competency, its meaning, and the behaviors associated with it, we have a multi-part question. What are the critical conversations, audiences, or organizations you've been putting off? What is the most strategic thing you could do in order to jumpstart an effective engagement? If NEA were to interview you, what example would you give?